Good morning, this is VJ Franz K, and this is another video with the Sharpie creative markers. In this case, the bullet tip markers instead of the brush tip markers. So this is the second video set, and it's going to be the next section here. So I'm going to show you on wood and then also on this canvas board, which is a layer of art canvas with cardboard behind it. Not that different, but so I have this nice wood. There's some wood grain on it. I sometimes like to go along with the wood grain and make it part of the design, if I can. Bring it in there, because you could say the wood grain, is that a bug when you're trying to design something, or is that a feature that you want to incorporate? The interesting shapes that appear in the wood grain, and of course no two pieces of wood will ever be identical. The grain will always make it a bit different. So that is special and kind of interesting. Now here you can see a little bit of roundness where I maybe went down too much on pressing the marker tip down on the surface there, but I continue to be impressed by the quality of these new Sharpie creative markers. So that is very good. Just rotate this. When I'm doing a kind of abstract picture, I'm not sure yet what side is up and what side is down. And that will come to me later on as I add more little features into it. Or maybe I usually have a side which I decide is downward, and I may indicate that by faces or other elements in the picture, or just which side I put my signature on, so you can see that is going right side up. Great markers here. They have no trouble at all covering this wood, even though you can see there is a little bit of soak away along the wood grains there. But I guess that is more an issue with the wood itself rather than the markers. Probably, it would probably do that if I was using ink as well. And it could be also that I was oversaturating that particular area with paint. And if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't make that outward leakage along the wood grain there. But luckily it is not doing that over most of the picture, so good. These markers have claimed no bleed through on paper, and I haven't really used them yet on paper that is likely to have bleed through, but I will get back to you on that claim that they make. And I certainly hope that they succeed in backing up that claim, because bleed through is sometimes a problem, and it could definitely be a problem if you're writing in your sketchbook or something like that, and the line bleeds through onto the next page. Is that perhaps a bit of wood filler or something there? Instead of covering over that, I'm going to feature that that imperfection in the wood as maybe part of it. Very nice. All right, I will move this wood to the side here. Wood panel is a nice alternative. Oh yes, once again, I will just, before I leave this area, we'll have, it's starting to look like a city, isn't it? So we'll probably go with that interpretation. So once again, we are comparing the wider bullet tip markers. Another thing occurred to me, that the larger marker may contain a larger paint reservoir, a larger supply of paint, and perhaps so-called shrinkflation is happening here, because these markers cost the same for a large pack. You can get, I believe, a 5-pack, or I decided to get the 12-pack just because I had a hunch that they would be very good, and it was luckily a case of no disappointment on that. I am very pleased with these markers, and I will enjoy using all the ink, even on the colors that I use the least. If you work it out, it is still pretty much worth it to get the large pack rather than the small pack, just because it makes each individual marker proportionally cheaper. So zoom in here carefully in 4K. Can I get the camera to focus on these instead of my hand, or instead of the background? There we go. So there is the difference between the so-called bullet tip and the brush tip here. Very interesting. The brush tip has this sort of reservoir area, which I like. Actually, I'm going to now put the cap back on the purple. These should have identical formula paint, probably. So now I will, since I've just been using the purple of the one, I will try the other. And here we go. And I'm reminded of something, which is that it almost looks like this is darker, but it's probably because this paint is still wet, and the color on paint markers may seem to be richer while it is drying, and then it becomes a bit more muted after it is dry. But I'm reminded that I'm getting a little bit of purple on my hand. Did I smear that? Maybe. I was reminded that brush tip markers, they're almost like the expert level. You know what I mean? They're harder to handle in some ways, but if you successfully learn to guide them, then you might be able to do more amazing things. What is amazing is up to you, your point of view, but I really like the brush line being able to go from thin to thick spontaneously and really make that part of the artwork. Now, is it a city inside a cave? What is going on here? And I could wait much longer to even figure that out until later. Or you can leave it ambiguous because if it is abstract art, it may not even have a full non-abstract interpretation, or if it does, you may wish to keep it secret. Just like oftentimes when I am showing off a piece of abstract or semi-abstract art, someone might ask me at the show opening, "What is this? What were you thinking of when you drew this?" And instead of answering them at the beginning, I would like to know, before I put my so-called official interpretation of this artwork that I did, I would like to hear their interpretation of what it might be. Just because you never know, they might see something totally interesting in it that I have never considered. And I wouldn't want to spoil their perhaps unique interpretation before we all hear what it is. Some art is very, very mysterious, and it will never be exactly described what it is. Or the artist says, this work is completely aesthetic. It doesn't have any other dimension besides that, and it shouldn't have to. So I'm going to move this to the side here, this purple. I guess I will make one more video because we're doing something different here. Alright, that will be the third part. We'll be right back with the red and the blue paint markers here, and